Okay, next up, everyone knows somebody dealing with diabetes. And I think with the University of Toronto's prowess in the field and research of diabetes, you see people go through their daily activities, which includes injecting glucagon. Zearup Biomed has a faster and simpler way of executing this activity. And I'd like to introduce everyone to Amin.
Hello, Hassan. Thanks for the introduction. Let me actually, can you see my screen? Hello, Hassan. Can you see the screen? Can you confirm this?
We can't see your screen yet.
Okay. So, what about now? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, now you just need to share your presentation.
Yeah, can you see that?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right. Thank you very much, Hassan, for the introduction. So my name is Amin Gavami Nejad. I'm representing Zearup Biomedical in this speech presentation. So let's start with the problem. Over 422 million people are living with diabetes in the world. As you probably know, we have two types of diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, usually the patients, actually the pancreas doesn't produce any insulin. And in type 2 diabetes, the pancreas partially produces insulin. And all of type 1 diabetes and 30% of type 2 diabetes rely on insulin therapy. These patients, they have to measure their blood glucose level all the time almost and calculate the amount of insulin that is required for their body and self-inject insulin to themselves. However, the overestimation of insulin requirement causes low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, which is a life-threatening complication in these patients. Imagine that, for example, you are a diabetes patient and you injected like too much insulin to yourself. What happens if you left untreated? You may die. So it's really a serious problem. Let's look at the hypoglycemia in more detail. However, the major cause of hypoglycemia is insulin overdose, but also there are other causes for hypoglycemia as well, like skipping the meals, excessive physical activities, certain anti-diabetic drugs, and excessive alcohol consumptions also bring the blood glucose level to a dangerous level of hypoglycemia. Usually, the hypoglycemia is started with some symptoms like weakness and shakiness, and in severe case, there will be like seizure and unconsciousness in this patients. And if they left untreated, they die. But also there are more problems in this scenario that some people actually are suffering from hypoglycemia unawareness. It means that their body doesn't have any symptom. They doesn't have any reaction to low blood glucose level. And for example, if you go to Sick Kids Hospital, you see a lot of parents are sleeping next to their child, and during the sleep time, so they pricking the fingers and get the blood glucose level from their kids just to make sure that the blood glucose level is not in a dangerous level of hypoglycemia. So imagine this situation, how tough it is for the parents. And if you are hearing this presentation as an investor, you really want to do something for them. So let's look at the current treatment. So currently there is an emergency glucagon kit available, like for example, from Eli Lilly company for these patients. So, but this is a rescue system, and it's really not ideal, for the prevention of hypoglycemia. So there are a lot of, the problem with this system. For example, it's painful injections. Second of all, it requires patient or caregivers intervention. The patient, someone has to prepare the cocktail, when the blood glucose level is down, and it's time consuming, the preparing the cocktail and injecting to the patients. It's really not ideal. Also, it's very challenging for patient with hypoglycemia unawareness. If you don't know when to inject this glucagon kit, so basically it's really challenging, and it's very costly. So the current cost of a rescue kit is on average $345 US. So it's expensive. And most importantly, it's only for rescue and it is not a preventative measure. So basically, again, a parent has to be next to the kids during their sleeping time and just to measure the blood glucose level like every couple of hours. It is really not ideal, the current treatment. But in Zearup Biomed, we believe in prevention rather than a rescue. So we designed a first of its kind, a smart glucagon transdermal microneedle patch for hypoglycemia prevention. So it's a first, actually, a company in the entire world that combine a microneedle patch market with a glucagon market as well. So what we have here, it's a smart microneedle patch that sends the blood glucose level and releases a glucose raising agent called glucagon when it is needed. It is as simple as applying a bandage and is intended for once daily usage. Very important to mention that there are currently no preventative system in the market for managing low blood sugar. So this is really has to be addressed. This is a big problem, and we really wanted to solve this. Let's look at the microneedles in more details. So microneedles basically are painless, and the microneedle patch has 100 of tiny needles on it. So each needle has a diameter around a diameter of the human hair. So it's very tiny. When you apply, you don't feel pain, and it can deliver the glucagon in a minimally invasive method. So our microneedle patch only delivers glucagon at low glucose level, at low blood sugar level, when it's needed. And there is no glucagon release at euglycemia or hyperglycemia. So because you don't want to increase the blood glucose level, but the blood glucose level is already high. And most importantly, our microneedle patch system can protect the glucagon from degradation. Glucagon is a very sensitive drug, so you cannot just mix it with any type of polymer and make a microneedle patch. But thanks to our protein-friendly polymers that we use in fabricating this microneedle patch, we were able to protect the glucagon from degradation. This is the result of our preclinical study. So initially, we tested this microneedle patch in diabetes rats. We prepared our model by STZ injection. We applied the microneedle patch, and after 30 minutes, we overdose inject insulin, and we track the blood glucose level. Here is the result. So the red line is our control group. So basically, the control group got the sham patch, so no glucagon in the patch. And as you see, when we inject the high dose of insulin, the blood glucose level of those control rats goes down and they stay at hypoglycemia level. And if we keep them there, at that situation, they die. However, when you look at our experimental group, when we apply the microneedle patch first and we injected the same amount of insulin, you see that the microneedle patch was successfully prevented hypoglycemia in diabetes rats. The result of this work has been published in Advanced Material, which is one of the leading journals in the materials science. In the next step, actually, also, we are currently working on our second preclinical study testing this microneedle patch in mini pigs in a collaboration with the Sinclair in the United States. And the good thing is that we actually don't get the result by ourselves. We send the sample to a state and they test our microneedle patch. So the test has been done by a third-party animal testing. So the result is highly reliable because it's really the other people do test for us. We have done a professional market assessment. Overall diabetes market is 80 billion USD, and 27 out of 422 million people actually of the diabetes population are at the risk of low blood sugar level, which is 64% of the whole diabetes population. If we just talk about the US and Canada market, the US and Canada market of glucagon is expected to be nearly 2 billion USD within the next couple of years. Talking about the pricing, the current cost of injection of rescue kit, which is the most closest device to our microneedle patch in terms of like the hypoglycemia treatment, so it's $345 US. However, the cost of production per our patch is only $1.9 US, less than $2. You cannot even compare them together. There is a huge interest in our technology. During the market assessment, the majority of experts in diabetes cares, including doctors, nurses, directors, believe our technology can make a significant impact in the life of diabetes patients. So The big pharmaceutical company also interested in our technology as well. So we have received a couple of letters of interest from the big pharmaceutical company, and JDRF and Hemsley, which are two leading funding agencies in diabetes research. They supported us over $1 million since the past couple of years, and we still aim to form a partnership with a large pharmaceutical corporation with a specific expertise in diabetes products for hypoglycemia treatment. This is our developmental timeline. So we started this project. We started this project in 2017. We have done our in vitro studies and designed our microneedle patch systems. We filed for the provisional patent application in 2018. We have done our first preclinical study in 2019. Later, we filed the PCT. And last year, we optimized our microneedle patch. We are currently are working our second preclinical studies. And in the next step, we are seeking a $3 million investment that will give us the financial flexibility to produce GLP toxicity and efficacy data and developing GMP methods. These data are important when we want to apply for the FDA, and also we want to initiate our clinical trials. This is our team. So my name is Amin Gavaminejad. I have more than 10 years of experience in working in the chemical laboratory. I have a PhD in chemistry, and I was previously research assistant professor in Chonbuk National University in South Korea. We have Brian Lu, who is a PhD student at the University of Toronto, Department of Pharmacy, and he has an expertise in the peptide formulation. Jackie Lu, also PhD student at the University of Toronto, and has a lot of experience in the biomedical engineering. We have a Dr. Sako Mirzai, who has expertise in the simulation of the interaction between the polymers and peptides like glucagon. And also our CSO is Professor Shelley Wu, who is a professor at the University of Toronto and also director of Advanced Pharmaceutics and a Drug Delivery Laboratory at the University of Toronto. So ladies and gentlemen, so we are Zearup Biomed, and we aim to put an end to low blood sugar level. No pain, no pill, with just a patch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amin. First question for you is from Sarah Farr from Genesis Capital. Is hypoglycemia a common complication if patients are using a continuous glucose monitor plus insulin pump?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a great question. First of all, the continuous glucose monitoring is not available for all patients. It's very expensive. It's not, again, comparable with our microneedle patch device. And second of all, it's not available for everyone, to be honest, this continuous glucose monitoring. And there are still a lot of challenges in the glucose continuous monitoring because they are not sensitive enough in hypoglycemia measurement. The hypoglycemia, we are talking about a less than 3.9 millimolar glucose level. Most of these continuous glucose monitoring, they are actually working based on GOG system. And those GOG systems, they are not very accurate at the low blood glucose level. There are a lot of literature on it to improve, the sensitivity of this continuous glucose monitoring at the hypoglycemia threshold. But our microneedle patch, we found, is very sensitive and can prevent the hypoglycemia, when it's needed. Yeah.
It's a clever system that you've built with this microneedle. And I think the next question that's come up is, can you use it for other delivery of other drugs?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's because what we have here, it's a template for drug delivery system. In one of the slide I mentioned that our microneedle patch can protect the glucagon from degradation. Glucagon is highly sensitive protein peptides. When we were able to protect the glucagon from degradation, we believe that this microneedle patch technology can be also used, for protecting other difficult to deliver drugs, So, and this is our big advantage because the polymer that we have used and we have patented, so it can protect the sensitive drugs, And this is great because we all believe that basically there will be huge potential in our drug delivery microneedle patch system. But for now, we're just actually focusing on the diabetes part and the hypoglycemia prevention. But in the future, definitely there is a way, to think about it for the other drugs as well.
Okay. The next question is, has anyone tried to make a microneedle patch for glucagon delivery before?
Again, previously there are a lot of literature on using the microneedle patch for insulin delivery, but there are a very limited number of research on the glucagon delivery using microneedle patch. Perhaps people, really tried, before, because we also had an idea of making the microneedle patch for glucagon delivery long time ago, but the glucagon was very sensitive, and when you just mix it with a lot of different polymers, you see that they actually degrade, and denature. So I think the advantage of our system is that we use a polymer that is very glucagon friendly and can protect the glucagon from degradation. People tried before, to make this type of glucagon microneedle patch, but they were not successful because the polymer that they were used, they were not as friendly as ours for glucagon delivery.
Got it. What is the current status of your IP? Is there new IP to be developed?
So yes, so we currently actually applied. We have our PCT, and we, that because we are testing the other also drug except the glucagon, there are also other drugs that can basically prevent the glucagon, prevent the hypoglycemia, and raise the blood glucose level. So we currently actually are testing the other drugs in these microneedle patch systems. And when we actually, since we are getting some good results, we are adding also this to our current patent. And we believe that hopefully with the investment that we get, and we basically do our GLPS studies and GMPS studies, hopefully we can actually also expand our IP, and we move forward to starting the clinical trials.
Are you intending to license to an existing pharma company, or will you build a microneedle?
Yeah, we are definitely. We are open, to this idea, and we aim to form a partnership with the large pharmaceutical corporation, ideally with a specific expertise in diabetes product for hypoglycemia treatment. I should mention that since we have a support from the JDRF and Hemsley, and these two funding agencies are very well known in diabetes research. And they are really supportive, and they are actually also trying to help us, to find a partnership and just, moving forward. We really, the idea of this company is to help the patients. So we really want to actually to help those patients, that they are in the hospital, their parents, they have to be next to their, sleep next to them and measure the blood glucose level. To be honest, the hypoglycemia is a really a serious situation, and we are really in Zearup Biomed, we want to help people.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Amin. Much appreciated.